let me ask you a question. So, if I were to ask you what your least favorite fighter was, what would you say? Some of you would probably say Kazuya right off the rip, or Steve, Min, Snake, Sonic, Aegis, all of your top tiers, Like, you'd have a lot of people saying stuff like that, but, that answer can be really, really broad. Or, like, if you could hate, like, someone like, I don't know, Mario a lot, or Luigi, which is also more common, I'll admit. You'd even say you might hate Little Mac, who's supposedly the worst character in the game, but some people might disagree with you on that. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today, where I feel like that a lot of people have characters that they hate, but they extend that hate to the person piloting said character. Say, for example, the whole incident with Onin and Jazo in Supernova, where Onin DQ'd themselves because they got so much hate after beating Jazo in bracket with Steve. Even though Onin is proven to be a good player, people were like, oh my god, like, it's Steve this, Steve that, I can't believe that if Steve just beat this amazing Ken player. It's like, and don't make no mistake, Jazo is a good player. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve, he deserved to lose or anything like that. But I do think that these hate for Smash characters, or just really top tiers in general, has gone a little bit too far at this point. Well, not even a little bit, it definitely has gone a little too far. Because you have people who are just swapping off their preferred fighter left and right because, people are dunking on them because they think their fighter is carried or easy, or they just hate the character in general. Even if they aren't, like, the best with the character, they'll still see them on the same character, and they'll be like, wow, I can't believe you're playing that character. What the hell? You're like a terrible player, you should, like, uninstall. Like, it's really just sad to see, because, like, I get that, certain characters in this game are not fun to fight against. Like, I have my fair share of, like, characters that I don't like seeing on at least Smash or in bracket, like Min, Snake, to an extent, even like characters like King K. Rool, because he can be pretty obnoxious if played in a certain way. But, like, yeah, it's just, I take that and I'm like, okay, well, this character is annoying, but I'm not gonna brag on the person playing the character. I mean, I may disagree with some of the stuff the character can pull off, but I'm not gonna sit there and, like, try and find their Twitter and send them death threats in their Twitter DMs or anything like that. Because, like, and I feel like a lot of people, that may sound extreme, but that is a thing that's happened to people. Like, I would not be surprised if there are people who are getting the top rats for, like, Min or Kazuya. I mean, Riddle's retired, but, like, so people like Steve, like, or, it's weird, because, like, some people are just very, like, if the player themselves proves to be a good person or just a good player in general, like on other characters, then people usually don't mind. But if they see someone who's, like, only playing, like, Kazuya or something like that, and they are, like, clearly getting value off of just playing Kazuya, then they'll just call them carry, they'll say they're bad, they'll say, like, DLC privilege, all that stuff. And it is true that DLC characters definitely have way more to offer than, like, standard roster characters. That's kind of what the point is, because, they gotta make them crazy good so that people want to buy them. That's how the DLC market works, and that's a whole different topic, unfortunately. But not all DLC characters are made equal either. I will say that. And Bandit Kazooie comes to mind. But I mean, I forgot his name. I think Toraguri is the best banjo in the world, and like the only real banjo player, and he shows that banjo can do some shit. So, make no mistake, when this because banjo is considered the worst DLC character outside of Piranha Plant, if you want to count them. They can still do some shit, but I digress. I really just feel like that we need to start diverting our hatred from characters towards just the characters and not the characters and the player. Honestly, I think character hate is a little bit like unwarranted and just in general, like, kind of cringe. Like, I can get, like, not liking going up against a Kazuya or a Steve or a Min or whatever. Like, I've never really had the pleasure of going up against a good Steve in bracket, so I can't really say for sure, like, Steve is, like, super easy to deal with. Because, like, I play Lucario and Bayonetta, which are also characters people consider to be annoying to go up against. But, yeah, like, I cannot say for sure if I'd be able to fight against, like, Onin or Akola and take a stock at the very least. We'll let them take a set or a game, but, that's just kind of the thing though, is like, yeah, I know that Steve is like super good, and compared to like, you know, Lucario, who's in C tier, I would not have any shot in hell in terms of taking a game unless I got super lucky with orb bullshit or whatever. But you can't really bank on the fact that like, oh, this character is busted, so like therefore this person is just bad because they're playing a bust. And we really just need to just like kind of reel it back a little bit, you know? Like, we can't always be playing the characters that are like, you know, the best or the worst in either way. I do get when people say that, like, you know, they hate going up against DLC characters, but like, there's literally just a whole subreddit dedicated to just hating on characters, whether it be DLC or standard roster. People will find a character to just absolutely rip to pieces if they have the chance to. Like, I mean, again, I could go on about characters I don't like to go up against, but the thing is that my mindset on the game is different, so I don't really like ranting about that type of thing. At the very most, I'll be like, damn, that I did not expect that to hit, or like, okay, that's totally not fair. But like, then I'll just kind of move on. Like, you know, that you can. I'm not saying that you can't like complain, because complaining does help, because it is a form of criticism, even if it's, you know, not always like the most refined. But it does work. It does help. So it's not like you can't just sit there and be hunky-dory, everything's fine while you're getting up aired by Steve from 0 to 90. Like, I'm not saying that you can't, you know, complain about the game at all. I'm just saying that we should probably try and keep any sort of like harsh criticism towards just the character, because we really don't need to be bullying people off of characters just because they are seen as campy or annoying to fight or annoying to play against. Because yeah, you know, Sonic is super good, but you know, that's just how the character is. Like, a fast character is gonna be good. Like, it's kind of how, what do you expect? But anyway, yeah, I just really want to stress that we should always just try and like play the game with a open mind, and just not trying to bash people just because they want to play a character that is considered broken. Because some people may genuinely actually want to play like Kazuya or something because they like Tekken a lot, or maybe they just like ARMS, which is, it sounds silly, but like, there are people out there who still play ARMS. I don't know if the servers are still up, but I do know that there was a bit of a competitive scene for it for a bit, but I have no idea. But yeah, there could be people who want to play the character just because they like the series, or they like the way they play. Like, just because someone is picking Min or something, or Snake or Sonic, doesn't mean that, you know, they're just trying to play because they want to get carried, and it may just mean they like the character. But you can't really avoid playing a good character, or even like a bad character can be perceived as the top tier in the hands of someone who knows how the character works in and out. Like, people like Peanut make Little Mac look like an A tier character at worst. So like, if someone were to go against Peanut's Little Mac, they'd be like, damn, this character is broken. How is they at the bottom of the tier list? Or if someone was to go against some sport random Little Mac on Elite Smash who's just playing Little Mac because they think they're him, they're gonna be like, oh wow, this character really is sucky. Like, how do people play this character? Like, that's just kind of how it goes. You can't base things off of just what you see on a red, green, orange, yellow series of pictures. Like, I think tier lists in general are just kind of unreliable in terms of trying to gauge a character's worth. Like, just because you see a character that you like playing or want to play at the bottom of a tier list doesn't mean that they're not viable. It could mean that case in games that are more strict with that type of thing. Like, I have zero bearings on how League of Legends works with tier list, but like, you know, that game has like hundreds of characters, so that's a whole different ballpark. But like, in other games, usually tier lists never matter. And even if there is a character that is ranked low on a tier list, doesn't mean that you can't take them to a new level. Because half the time, the reason why characters are lower on tier lists in general is because of result-wise, or just people not showing what the character can do. Because like, Mii Sword Fighter was sitting near the bottom of the tier list for almost like years on years now. But then that video by Random came out a few months back, and now all of a sudden he's probably going to be shooting up to like at least B rank at this rate. But you know, that's only really given by results. because they don't really look at the actual things the characters can do and like stat wise and stuff. Because like some people will look at a character and be like, okay, that character's S tier off the bat. Like when I saw Kazuya when they first came out, I thought that they were pretty much at least A tier at minimum. Because I mean, even I knew that, and I was half right because he was A tier at the start, but now he's an S. But that's just kind of how it goes. You cannot sit there and like complain, thinking that this character's broken, this character needs to get nerfed, blah 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 blah. Because at the end of the day, a character's worth can change from day to day, and also just we can't really just be hating on people just because they want to play a character that's really good. Because yeah, it does suck whenever you get killed by someone who's playing a character that's way better than yours and they're doing half the effort, but that's like, you know, that's just how it goes, and no one can control that better than you or me. And really all we can do is just find the counter players for the characters that we want to play to counteract what they're doing, and that's like the best way to go about it. Because people look at stuff like Kazuya spamming electrics over and over again on FD, or Steve building blocks with a 3 blocks wall setup, or Min running to the other side of the stage to throw arms at you. That stuff like, okay, this is cringe and boring, I hate this. But what I should really be thinking of is like, okay, how can I get past the Steve wall? How can I get closer to Min without taking too much damage? Or how can I approach Kazuya with my character without eating a meaty punish or completely screwing up and getting myself killed in the process, you know? Because there are ways to get around these things. There's yes, it is really hard, and like if against a really good player, most likely will not have any option that is good, but there always is a way. And that's kind of the important thing I want to take away from this, is that there's always a way, even if that way may not seem the best, or if it just sort of isn't the best. That doesn't mean that it's not viable. Like because at the end of the day, any strategy is viable as long as it gets the job done. So you just gotta have to look at it in a different way. Because at the end of the day, yeah, like characters will always be good as long as they are until they get nerfed into the ground. But you know, we don't know when the next Smash game is gonna come out, so we gotta just stick with it what we can and just try and look at things in a better light. Because if we keep getting on this path of like just shitting on any character that is perceived to be super broken or good, then the list of viable characters that people seem quote-unquote worthy in their eyes is going to diminish until eventually it's going to be the same bullshit over and over again, and then we're just going to be back to square one. Anyway, I just wanted to make this little video just to talk about this because I wanted to get my thoughts out. It's a little bit rambly, and I apologize for that, but you know, that's just kind of how these videos tend to go. Anyway, I highly would love if you like and subscribe on this video, because I am trying to grow my fan base a little bit, and I'd like to know what you guys like to see, and I want to know what I'm doing good and what I'm doing bad. Anyway, that's going to be it for me, and I'll see you all next time.